people historically have liked to hide behind email. It's hiding. So, if you're going to make a decision, stand by the decision, treat people like they're smart, anticipate what they're feeling, and address it. I think there's a lot of respect to be gained in that approach.
Nina.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us. So we were just kind of introducing you, VP of Global Talent, now just transitioning into consulting. So,
That's right.
but former Axonius, Google, Gap. I'm not wearing Gap jeans right now, but Gap, Pinterest. So you have a huge and awesome background that we'd love to kind of get into with you. How was your Thanksgiving, first of all?
Yeah, I was going to say, listening to your intro, my Thanksgiving was really great. And I'm going to one up you that over the holiday, I was with a 104-year-old. So
104 years old.
Oh, I think you said 140. I'm like, I'm going to call a liar because that's
no,
okay. 104.
Yes, my
Oh.
grandmother-in-law is 104.
Holy cow.
How's she doing? Is she walking on her own? Is she doing it all? Is she like a ninja?
She is great.
That's
great.
Incredible.
Yes.
104.
Yes.
So all I'm hearing is you've got a lot of life ahead of you. So
Yeah.
not only have you already had an impressive career, but you're like 25% of the way there.
It's an in-law, so it's not even
It's an in-law. I know. Maybe by, osmosis, proximity. We'll see. But yes.
Wow. 104.
Yes.
So they definitely one-upped. Hey, we asked a question of our crew here locally. What was your favorite dish?
So I'm going to be honest, Thanksgiving is not my favorite meal.
Everyone says that. I hate Thanksgiving food.
I just I've never loved it. My mom makes a really good homemade cranberry sauce that's not at all like traditional cranberry sauce, so I love that. But otherwise, I could kind of give or take, though I did eat a very lovely meal that a good friend of mine cooked, and it was delicious. But I could also eat Italian food on Thanksgiving and be very happy.
Like a deep dish pizza from Chicago?
Yeah, fantastic.
Okay, contrary to, I have to put it as past tense. I loved Thanksgiving, and stuffing for the longest time was literally one of my favorite foods. I loved stuffing, obnoxious and but as of 5 years ago, I became a glutard. So
So what do you do now?
I actually don't like Thanksgiving anymore. I don't like it anymore. So like when my team asked, what was your favorite Thanksgiving item on the this time, it was like mind blowing to me because like everybody was trying to be so nice because this was my first year with a lot of my extended family since COVID.
Okay.
And everyone wanted to make me gluten-free meals, and everyone wanted to make these gluten-free alternatives. And I'll tell you what, gluten-free alternative stuff is horrible. Like it's torture.
It's not good.
But I had to be nice and I had to take a bite of everything so I wasn't like the asshole that was not eating their food. But I'll tell you what, I didn't want to do it. I did it. And for my family that's now watching this and I apologize that you're learning this now, but don't make gluten-free alternative stuff. It's not good. I just rather have it how God originally intended it to be, which was not gluten-free. Just eat the stuff that's how it's supposed to be.
I think Nina and I agree. Soggy bread with crunchy celery, not like a
no, thank you. No, thank you at all.
That's but my favorite cookie, you could probably guess, at this point, like oatmeal raisin is my favorite cookie. And people are like, you're going to hell for that. Or like carrot cake is my favorite cake.
All right, well, we are not on the Food Network. So let's get into...
Maybe you should be.
I know, right? Good food critics.
Yeah.
Now I'm angry. Thanks,
Nina, tell us a little bit about your background, because a lot of the what we like to talk about, and when people are listening to this, the millions who check in, it's normally to go, hey, you got some awesome executives, someone whose career has taken off, and I want to follow along. How do I get there? What do I do to get there, and so on. So take us back. Again, you've had a career that spanned some companies that are enormous, and
any one of some of your titles are like dream jobs. People are like, I wish and I hope and I pray one day I'll be there.
And it's great.
So tell us a little of your background.
I'll tell you. Yeah. So I know you introduced me as a VP, head of talent, but communications is my bread and butter. So at Exonius, I ran global talent, internal communications, and employee experience. So it sort of weaved together a bunch of things. How did I get there? Well, I bumped into someone in my college library who said, you should be in public relations because you're really good with people. And I started my career in public relations, and I realized I hated pitching to the media. I couldn't sell things that I didn't really care about. And I made my way into a team that did internal communications, change communications. And that sort of just got me, that was the catapult, actually. I realized that there was this really interesting way to do communications at a company that required you to understand people. So there was a psychology element to it, a sociology element to it, which was my undergrad major. And that's really what started it. And I worked for a wonderful consulting firm named Burson, and the founder, Harold Burson, was a mentor of mine. Also, people call him the founder of PR. So I was really lucky to land there. And I guess I would say, I just took advantage of everything in that first experience. I raised my hand for things. And so I think that's one. Two, I had a really amazing boss. When I moved into internal comms, I had an amazing boss. And I think it's very rare in your first job to have an amazing boss. And the great thing is it sets the bar high. The bad thing is it sets the bar high.
Right.
So I'd say that first job experience was a really important one. And what I've been doing is sort of building my toolbox since then, going in-house, making my way through a couple of big Fortune 500 companies, dipping my toe into marketing for a minute, taking a break to go and get a master's at Columbia Teachers College in organizational psychology. And I did this not thinking I would ever go back to school because I was done with studying. But I had all the practical experience. I had worked with enough executives. I'd done enough change. And I'd studied sociology. So I felt like I had all of these really good perspectives, but I didn't have the theory behind it. So I went back to kind of be a book nerd in the theory. And I have to say I was like an A+ student. I was never an A+ student before. But in graduate school, I was a gold star. And then I went to Google after that. And Google was an amazing training, growing land. I came in when the company was small, 20,000 employees, which felt very small, and was one of the first executive communications people there. And I had another great boss who was amazing and empowering. And by the way, I'm still in touch with all my great bosses. So that's another thing I think is really important for people to understand. Staying in touch with good people you've worked with is important just because of the human connection and also as people to bounce things off of. So yeah, Google was amazing. I'll say though, that's where I sort of crossed over into the HR space. So I used my communication skills to then work on the global people team, running comms for several of the executives, chief people officer. And so I got to really understand the inner workings of HR. And so sort of going back to my title where we started, right? There's the internal comms, which has always been the core, and then there's the talent, then there's their experience. So that's kind of where the thread from HR pulled through. And then I got to work in a bunch of other companies that you rattled off. So interesting, rich experiences. Yeah, so my last 3.5 years at Exonius, I had the intense privilege of helping to build the people team, of helping to create something from the ground up, from performance management to cultural rituals and really sort of unique CEO communications. So yeah, it's been fascinating and interesting, and it will continue to be, I think.
Yeah. And that's really empowering to hear. And one of the things that you mentioned multiple times is you're like, I had a great boss, I had a great boss, I had a great boss. And I don't think that everybody listening probably feels the same all the time. And so somehow you were in a position, and I don't believe in luck. I know Taylor would agree with me, where it's like luck doesn't exist. And somehow great bosses recognized you as somebody that they believed in, somebody that they could take on, mentor, and grow with. I'm curious as to why do you believe that they selected you? Because ultimately you were selected by great bosses and you were able to be mentored by great bosses, which is incredible. But I have to imagine a lot of people want that and wish for it, but the great bosses aren't the ones selecting them. So like, why you? Like, how did you get selected to be mentored by some of these people, including?
That's a great question. So number one, I worked hard and I was smart. So I really put the effort in. I am smart. I'm still smart. I really put the effort in to do a good job. And my personal standards for myself have always been extremely high. They're higher for me.
Like if you had to be really obnoxious and go, I explicitly demand these things out of myself, what are they? What do you demand out of yourself?
That I am extremely thoughtful about every project or challenge I approach, that I actually am methodical about thinking through the risks, the trade-offs, that I am putting myself in the shoes of my audience as a communicator. That's the first thing that you have to know how to do, because it's not about you, it's about who you're talking to. Always follow up on things that you've committed to. Always get things done when you say you're going to, and quadruple check your thinking, your work, everything, to make sure that the product that you're putting out there for whomever it is, a CEO, a peer, is as good as it can be.
How do you describe an amazing boss? Obviously through your experience. Yeah. What are some things when you picture, because I'm going to argue with Shane for a second. He says the amazing boss selected you. I'm also going to say your perception of the amazing boss. I'll bet you that same amazing boss, other people would say he or she sucks. Demanding, rude, pushy, etc. But in your mind, you're like, that was amazing. Just like coaches in sports.
Yeah.
I know many coaches that I look back at and I go, he was incredible. And the person to my right or left would have said, he was yelled all the time. It's like, but he got the most out of me. I appreciated being trained hard. Some people don't. So how do you describe an amazing boss?
Yeah, I mean, a great boss isn't a great boss for everybody necessarily. Every individual is different. So your point's well taken. What's a great boss to me? Someone who is confident in their craft, understands how to choose and stick to priorities, has the back of their team, like that it's not about them, it's about their team, and they will always have their team's back no matter what. And I also tend to gravitate towards women who are really confident and can have a seat at the table where they are the smartest person in the room. In fact, I learned that from my first boss, who said, whenever you're sitting in a meeting, always say something, and always say something smart, because it shows that you're listening, it shows that you're contributing. And this was back in the day when people would sit around in a boardroom and have meetings. There was no Zoom. I'm a Gen Xer, so I've seen the evolution of the workplace.
Me too. Not him. Nope, not Shane.
I think I'd add one more thing too, which is important. Someone who is kind, but not kind in the sense that they're just nice. kindness can come through tough love. Kindness can come through feedback. Kindness can come when you show up at a moment that your employee doesn't expect. My great bosses have all shown that. And by the way, I've only mentioned 2, but I've had others. And I look back and I think, wow, like it's pretty crazy to have had that, like a whole number of great bosses.
Again,
and
I think a lot of times a great boss, manager, coach, etc., is oftentimes also made by the subordinate player, whatever,
The team.
the
direct
team.
report, yeah.
I mean, if you think again, I talk in terms of sports because I'm an idiot, but you think of
I
Phil
love sports. Sports are for brilliant people.
I agree. They are for really brilliant people. But like you think of Phil Jackson,
Yeah.
Bill Belichick, Nick Saban, no one has ever said they were nice.
Mm-hmm.
No one has ever said they were kind, they loved me, they were caring. But boy, there are a lot of people who say they were the greatest coach they've ever been around.
Right. And that's where I wanted to qualify. Kind is not a hug. There's a concept called radical candor, which if you care about someone, you tell them the truth. And I very much believe in that. One of Exonius's values was relentless pursuit of the truth. And I have never felt so connected to a company value. So if you care about people, it doesn't mean that you're always nice to them. You tell them the hard things because you do care. It's if you don't, that means you're actually not being kind. You're not setting them up for success.
Gluten-free stuffing sucks.
No.
I'm just saying.
You could have used some radical candor there. I mean, and transparent communications. I mean, let's work through this a little.
What I'm hearing is I should have denied the gluten-free options. So yeah, favorite book? I'd be curious. Like I would love to know favorite books. You're bringing up radical candor. I'm a really big fan of 5 Dysfunctions of a Team for the same principles and same reasoning is like being able to talk with the team. I don't know.
So, okay, favorite book kind of professionally, because you brought up a little, it's one that probably is going to not sound connected, but it's called The Good Life. And it is a book that describes the 80 plus years of research that Harvard did to answer the question, what makes a good life? And the answer was relationships. Your relationships with other people determine whether or not you will look back on your life and say, I had a good life. And that book was very meaningful. And it's a great book. I listened to it. It's a great listen. It's fascinating because it is based on, it's the longest longitudinal study of like happiness and life that's been conducted. And that's also relevant to work though, right? Because when your relationships are important at work, but also genuine relationships are important at work. I think there are 2 kinds. There are the relationships you have to build because you just kind of have to get your work done. And then there are the relationships that you build because you truly see something in someone, think they're amazing, trust them, and genuinely are like, this is someone in the workplace that I would want to work with in another place and have on my team.
Yeah. No, I love it. Now I don't have to read the book, which is nice. Let's see.
Yeah, no, I just gave you the thesis. That's it.
A small side question. Yeah. Are you allowed to say, I read the book if you listen to it?
I know. That's a very good question. I mean, I guess I should just say I listened to the book.
Right.
And again, that's factual, right?
You read the book, but again, it's one of those things that like I've had, what book are you reading right now? And someone says, and then they somehow sneak in there that they're listening to it on Audible. And it's like,
and you're like, oh, so I'll tell you what my rule is. I only listen to nonfiction books because it's hard for me to concentrate on nonfiction. And I actually read fiction.
Lord of the Rings. Okay. Got it.
Definitely not Lord of the Rings, but I'm reading a book called Duplicity right now. It's actually about AI and how it enters into the life of one family in a somewhat tragic way.
And then ends the world, right? Because AI is going to take over.
I mean,
We've discussed that
yeah,
with a few people.
every
Who
ending,
doesn't like
every
when I bring
story
it up?
now is AI is destroying the world.
Well, it's going to. We've decided on this podcast through contact lenses that we all put in, it'll melt our eyeballs and end us.
Right.
Wasn't that the decision?
You just want to keep bringing up the Black Mirror episode. So I do want to know, and I have to imagine people are listening and they're curious, and maybe they heard this early on, which is like PR versus internal communications. Internal PR is different, and then you had this spark back in college where it's like I wanted to get into PR. Realized while I was in a PR firm, maybe PR wasn't necessarily for me. What does that mean, and what are those big differences? Because for me, as a total noob, I might be like, aren't they the same thing? Isn't like
right? It's all
I don't understand.
communications. Yeah, it's a great question. They're related, but really different. And the biggest difference is the audience. So again, going back to what I said, is the first thing as a communications person that you have to understand is who you're talking to. So PR is public, it's external. You're talking to media, you're talking to investors, you're talking to partners, reporters, analysts, and you're really trying to shape a narrative for something that's really, really, really intentional. And it's has to be super, if it's done well, it's short, it's clear, it's jargon free, it explains your product, it explains your business, it explains whatever leader you're talking about. Internal is similar. You're trying to achieve something similar. You're trying to purvey a narrative that you want people to understand. But they're sitting there in their jobs, working towards whatever you tell them to work towards. And if you're clear about that, then the connection between what they do and why they do it is clear to them. If you don't do it the right way, it's not. And I think the special sauce in internal is at a company. Let's put it this way, journalists, most of them are asking the same questions, right? It's not like vastly different, depending on what you're talking about. Internally, you can be operating in dozens of countries, dozens of languages, who knows how many job families and job roles. So you're not talking to the same audience. So you have to thread, I hate this phrase, but I'm using it, thread the needle to try to resonate with an audience that is kind of like all little snowflakes, and help them understand what's happening in the company, build trust in the company, give a shit about the company, and believe in it so that they're motivated. I think the number one thing though is trust. If you do internal communications right, you build trust. You also save time and you save money.
And I have to imagine everybody listening also has experienced poor internal communication where maybe their CEO, their COO, maybe Taylor, accidentally said something to the team that they didn't like. Who knows? And what I'm curious about is like, where do you see the most common mistakes happen? Like when we're talking about like internal communications, whether it's strategy, execution, there are people that have consultants like you, and then there are people that don't. But mistakes are still made even if they have someone like you. So I'm curious of like, even when somebody has like a really big or small, internal communications team, what do you see as like the biggest flaws, biggest mistakes that executives make when they're trying to push new direction, new team integration, acquisition, whatever it might be? I don't know. Any hypothetical.
The biggest mistake is that they don't feel like they need to communicate that much. And by that, I mean, I don't just mean frequency, but I mean content. I think that one of the biggest pitfalls in corporate America is you put out an email that says like 5 strategic things, and then that's it. You don't explain why. You don't explain the process to get there. You don't leave room for questions. People are smart and they want to be treated like they're smart. So, and ignoring things only creates more drama, more speculation, which costs more time, more money. So I'd say the number one sort of biggest fail is not to say anything at all. And then if you do, to not have it be meaningful at all.
Let me ask you a different one,
Yeah.
because I'm sure you've experienced this, Google, Gap, Pinterest, companies of that size. There's probably a little bit of a leak of PR and I'm going to call it IR, internal relations, that idea of like Google puts out a statement to the world. Well, all of their employees are part of the world and they see it, right? But how would you consult, right? That's what you're doing now is helping companies to properly formulate how to communicate and so on when it's bad news. It's not positive news. Let's say Google decides to change their employee bonus structure, or Google, like stuff like that, or stock options are shifting or whatever. How do you properly say that knowing everyone's going to be upset because they are smart people? It's not good news to them.
Yeah.
How do you do it?
Yeah, no, I love, these are like, those kinds of projects are the ones I like to work on the most because it's so easy to do it poorly. And not just Google, it's every company, right? So number one, you start with the decision making. So a good comms person will start by saying, why did you make this decision? Do you understand the trade-offs and the feedback that we're going to get? So part of a comms person's responsibility is to channel back, hey, so here are the people who are going to be upset, here's why. And then start to get in, why did you make the decision? Sometimes companies make decisions that employees are not going to like. And guess what? They can do that. But what's not wise to do is to try to cover it up or obfuscate it somehow with some really fancy jargony language. The best type of communication is the most honest. And you'd be surprised. Sure, people can still be upset with a decision or something that a company did, but they will appreciate that you were honest about why you did it, that you weighed the trade-offs, and you landed here for a reason. And you also acknowledge, I know this is not going to be popular with everyone. You can actually put that in a communication.
I think that's awesome. Because again, in 25 years of, I guess maybe 20 years of leadership, there have been a lot of times of giving out bad news about the company, bad decisions we had to make, things that happened. And that's the one that stresses the most is, yeah, it's always fun to be like, hey, by the way, stock price tripled. Like, that's not a hard one. I mean, obviously you want to do it the right way, but that's always a fun, exciting Christmas bonus, right? It's, thinking of, as we're approaching the Christmas season, the Christmas vacation, of sending out the Jelly of the Month Club for the Christmas bonus, right? And so what did they do so wrong? If you look at that as this decision that his company made, right? We know the Christmas Vacation, correct? Come on, tell me you guys know this movie.
Is it the original one?
Yeah,
it's the original. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I know I've seen it, but like 25 years ago.
Oh, come on. It's the best Christmas movie.
Just a quick refresher.
All right. So Chevy Chase works at really, really large company like Kellogg. Think of Kellogg, right?
Right.
And every year they get a Christmas bonus, and he's been counting on the Christmas bonus. He is going to take his Christmas bonus and get a pool for his family.
Okay.
He tells his family that. The mailman shows up on Christmas Eve, receives the letter that the Christmas bonus that year is a enrollment into the Jelly of the Month Club.
That's right.
And that's when his brother-in-law, Randy Quaid, goes out and kidnaps the boss. And right, so
I'm remembering it now.
Yes. Also, like getting a letter on Christmas Eve. I love it. God, it's so 80s.
So again, but it is so 80s, but it's so, that is your internal communication. It's bad news. The company, for whatever reason, has made a decision. We can't afford Christmas bonuses, or we're going to be cheap, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And they send a letter. How do you do it differently? Explain to me if you're the boss.
What you do. First of all, you don't send a letter. You have a meeting. You have a Zoom. You talk to people face to face. I mean, face to face, obviously. virtually. You explain, you give opportunity to ask questions, you prepare for the tough questions. You don't go into it thinking everyone's just going to nod and smile. And in fact, if you're a really brave leader, you preempt and you say, I'm sure that you have questions. And in fact, I'm sure these three are top of mind. And you actually proactively ask and answer the tough questions to get in front of it. So you start, that's the first step always. You know, people historically have liked to hide behind email. It's hiding. So, you know, if you're going to make a decision, stand by the decision, treat people like they're smart, anticipate what they're feeling, and address it. I think there's a lot of respect to be gained in that approach. And then you can follow up with your email and details and what happens and what do they need to do and la la la. Own it.
Do you leave it open to a forum where a mutiny can be created? You know, if I'm you know, we're not going to use Google because they're a great company, but if I'm company X, not Twitter, company Y, and
can't use company X
all of a sudden
Elon's
going to sue us. And
I love it.
So if I'm company Y and
I'm sued by X,
and I am switching our healthcare plan, and I know it's probably not going to be a wonderful, exciting thing. And so I do a Zoom and I'm going to invite questions and I am prepared and we've made the decision-making process. And like you said, it's not a popular decision, but it is a good decision for many people in the organization, not for everyone. But now I leave it open for my 8,000 employees. Mm-hmm. And inevitably, there's a couple of them who feel like they can just...
Very vocal, very upset.
Yeah, and they're going to come out and go, you're crushing all of our dreams. And they're going to kind of try their best to create this uproar and mutiny in a public setting with 8,000 or 800 or 80 employees. What do you do then? Or do you not leave it open-ended and you say...
So number one, a couple of things. Number one, it depends on what the culture of the company is. So if the culture of the company is such that there is always this open forum where anyone can ask anything, well, then you've sort of created that space and that expected behavior. If your company culture is, you know, you've sort of made it be part of the fabric to respectfully ask questions or, you know, channel them through some other, you know, smaller forums or mechanisms. So number one is just depends on you have to know your audience. Like, do employees regularly show up and go off on leaders when they don't like something? Yes, no, right? So that like starts the question tree. Number two, again, preempting the difficult questions, like getting in front of it so you're not like you're not surprised by someone being infuriated. It's probably pretty obvious what the questions are going to be. And number three, if you understand your organization well, and let's say the people who do happen to be more vocal, you should take advantage of that. You should reach out to them before and say, hey, look, we're going to announce this. I want to get your feedback. I want to explain to you why we're doing it. Does that make sense to you, even if you don't appreciate it or you don't agree with it? So there are ways to handle situations like that. I mean, it's mitigating risk, but it's also just treating people the way that you would want to be treated in that sort of situation. Yeah. Like it's so interesting, 25 years in corporate America, it's like there's this silent, you know, code where like you can't do certain things. Like you can't reach out to an employee and tell them you're going to change this thing. And you can't reach out to the employee you know is going to be pissed off because, oh my God, what's going to happen? Guess what's going to happen? It's probably going to be a really good conversation and you're going to learn things and it's going to help you roll it out. The last thing I would say is, sadly, I do think because there is a lot of fear in the workplace right now that I actually don't think people speak up as much as they'd like to. I think that there has been a shift internally where people are a lot more cautious and companies are a lot more cautious because they've experienced employees weaponizing sometimes internal comms, or employees have actually had really bad experiences when they've very appropriately raised concerns. And by the way, this is true in every single company in some shape or form. And if a company has not experienced it yet, let me tell you, they will at some point. Now, you can get in front of it. You can get in front of it early, but you have to work on communications, building that trust and respect, and honestly, having some confidence in doing what doesn't seem part of the corporate code all the time.
Or bringing on Nina to be a consultant and help prepare you for all of this stuff and do it the right way.
Or that.
Slap you straight.
Or that. I thrive on when I'm in-house, I thrive on those situations that companies are scaredest of, because I'm like, there actually is a way to do it where you don't have to be the bad guy and people can feel some respect and dignity and understanding.
I think in a lot of ways it can galvanize the team too, if they can understand, like you said, decision making. Look, we're not doing this to line our pockets. We're doing this in the best interest of the shareholders, or the best interest of our employees today and the future employees, the best interest of our clients who we're trying to make raving fans, which that's one of our internal values. And so you help them understand this isn't just a greed of employee of the month, jelly of the month club.
It could be though. So I will say though, this is, it's a profit making or capitalist society. So yes, do companies make decisions that will line the pockets of certain people? Yes. Do they have high integrity as a result? No. And no set of communications can mask that.
Yeah, you can't cover that up. So don't hire Nina to be greedy and cover up your greed.
Right, I'm not a cover-upper. So yeah.
But it might be good to communicate that, because there are strategic for example, there are strategic layoffs that are happening where it's like, we decided that we're cutting this entire core product, so this whole team has to go. And I do think that there are even companies in the news today where it's like, nobody's like, well, why am I getting laid off? It's like, well, we just literally cut your entire product line because we're investing in these particular tools, and people are out there confused. And it's like, and a part of that is because they didn't have Nina. They didn't have Nina to say, well, and because they're like, well, why did this whole thing get cut? But our profits are skyrocketing. Why are we doing layoffs? It's like, some layoffs are good for the greater good of the organization as it's scaling and as it's growing.
Right. You just have to explain. And it's uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable, but to be a great leader, you have to be brave and work through that discomfort. And again, it saves you time, it saves you money, and it builds your integrity and trust. And that's good for the long-term health of a business.
And you said you didn't like using threading the needle, so I'm going to have to use another term a lot of people don't like. Some companies have to go through pruning. It is like you prune in certain areas for you to be able to grow and for
this is
for you
such
to harvest
a
fruit.
negative conversation. Let's go to the positive.
Yeah.
You also talk a lot about just employee motivation and excitement and culture.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. Yeah. What have you seen? Try to think of an example of a really awesome motivational thing that you watched a company. Maybe you were a part of. Maybe it was your initiative to launch, and it was really exciting, and the team rallied around it.
Yeah. Oh, I have great examples. I mean, I'll pull from Exonius, which, was such a great experience. So number one, employee motivation and experience isn't virtual happy hours and parties. I feel like that's important to understand. Experience, in my view, and others may have different points of view, is ask yourself, what was my favorite job and why did I like it? Chances are your boss was good. Going back to our earlier part of the conversation, you felt like your work had impact, what you did mattered, which means you understood the goals of your team, the goals of your company. You felt like you could trust at least most of the people around you. So to me, that's experience. If every company put those things into place, I think that they probably could reduce their amount of perks, because making those things real is in and of itself a perk. However, yes, you do need rituals. You do need things to connect people. And one of the things I love that we stood up at Exonius, so low tech, and it's still going on, is called shout outs. We did this thing where we had a set of values, and anyone in a Google form can submit a shout out to someone for demonstrating that value. And they have to choose the value and explain why the person demonstrated it. And then it is sent to that person, copying the person who submitted it, and all the way up the chain. So yeah, somewhat manual process, and bless the person who does that. But then you get this message in your inbox that's like, hey Taylor, Nina gave you a shout out. And you open it up and it says like, hey, I thought you really demonstrated, the team value. Here's why. Like, you helped me out late night with a client and saved it, and turned the business around because you jumped in, whatever it is. And it's all, your whole reporting chain sees it.
Well,
now, yes,
I appreciate
we love
that
to automate that,
that.
yes, but sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but like, it is so low tech that part of me cringes, because I'm like very focused on, how do we innovate with technology? But sometimes the lowest tech, no cost things can be the most meaningful for people.
Agreed, because it took time and energy for someone to do it
Like,
versus
someone made the effort to do that.
Like handwritten notes go a long way nowadays.
Right. Because it's like, right. We
because no one does it anymore.
Because no one does it.
Mm-hmm.
So just from and then I'd say so I've talked a lot about bosses and managers, but I also ran global talent with an incredible team at Exonius, and we put our chips in the manager basket. We focused a lot on enabling managers. We gave every single manager in the organization the option to have a personal coach to work on something specific that they needed to work on. We had manager expectations, and we really innovated in meeting managers where they're at versus like training people on how to be a good manager, because everybody is different. So I'd say like that was another big bet on experience. And then really being thoughtful about remote connecting people who work remotely. One of the things that I'm a big fan of is employee resource groups, which I ran at Exonius. And they were so wonderful because even if you didn't identify with the community, you could be part of it. And there was this really great Slack check-in channel. People shared things. Like, it's really low tech, low touch, high human sort of interactions that I think are important, and not the bells and whistles.
Yeah, it's like even just simply getting in person and meeting a manager, getting in person and meeting the team, like get off the screen a little bit and get some human interaction in. And I think goes a long way, especially if you're in a remote environment, or even a hybrid or on-site environment. But well, Nina, I know that we could probably talk for a bazillion hours about this, and I feel like Taylor and I probably have 1,000 additional questions, and I'm sure every viewer does as well. For those that do have questions still, and they're like, holy moly, like something spoke to me and I'm struggling with this thing. I really want to solve this particular problem, and I need Nina to come help save the day. Like, how can people get a hold of you? How can people get in touch? Like, how do they get more out of you than just listening to our podcast?
Yeah. So I'm Nina Kontos on LinkedIn, NinaKontos. Shoot me a note, connect. That's the best way. And I invite anyone to reach out, even if you're on your journey in communications or HR. I always love to champion up and coming talent. I'm happy to be a mentor. I'm happy to be a connector. As we talked about, relationships are important and genuine ones. So I won't keep in touch with you if I don't like you. So if I'm in touch with you, it's because I like you and I respect you. So
clearly, Shane and you are not going to be connected on LinkedIn.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I'm kidding.
Okay, so if you're listening and you want Nina's help, first of all, she takes compliments. So say something nice. If you heard something that you loved, drop it in the comments, send her a LinkedIn message, reach out. But for all of our listeners, thank you for listening. and looking forward to hearing.
Thank you guys. This was so fun. Let's hang out again. Let's do it
will.
again.
Yeah, we need. You know what? We're going to do a follow-up 1 year from now.
Awesome.
6 months to a year. We'll catch up with where you're at.
I love it. I loved your questions. I love your humor. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Until next time, Nina.
Okay. Bye.
Goodbye.